Now, let's get some other perspectives to the matter. We've been hearing from politicians, Honorable, from the lower chamber. We've heard from the lawmaker from the upper chamber about this reconciliation process. We told you earlier on, this is important because, you know what, if there is political unrest, well, it will affect every aspect of governance. Professor of Political Science joins us via telephone now. Professor Rotimi Agunsoye, many thanks for having you join us on Politics Today, Prof. Tell me, in other climes, how does this play out, really? Do you think that the APC did well in the way it handled the reconciliation process?
Well, I think that it's important to go back to what the gentleman from the House of Representatives was saying, Honorable Rotimi Agunsoye. He had mentioned a very important point, that they've resolved the problem. Now, what is expected is to distribute the juicy positions in the committees. And the word juicy was used by him advisedly. Because, in effect, what politics in the National Assembly is about, it's not about serving the people. It is what he mentioned, the juicy positions, which will be distributed among the politicians within the National Assembly. That is why there has been so much problem in the National Assembly in the past 2 months. If you go back to the 7th National Assembly, you will remember that they had a zero tolerance for transparency. And because of that, the Nigerian people did not know how much, in fact, they were earning in terms of remuneration. It's not the salary. The salary is determined by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation, and Fiscal Commission. It is the allowances that they would decide by themselves secretly and would refuse to allow Nigerians to know. That is exactly where they are all together. That is what all the politics is about. Let's not deceive ourselves. It's not about serving the people. So I expect that some of these problems will still go on in the future because the question of activities in those places is important. You remember what Senator Melaye said? He said one of those in the Lawan group had been given the chairmanship of works, which is a juicy position. What is juicy? If you have oversight over a government function, over an executive function, and the word juicy is used, it means you are going to be corrupt. It is collecting money from the executive, from those who bring the budget forward, who bring bills forward. That is what it's all about when you use the word juicy. It has come from both of them. And so from that type of angle, we know what the 8th National Assembly also wants to do. Maybe just to continue with what happened in the 7th National Assembly. So I don't see what they are doing. There is honor when you have people who sit together and conspire to divide, to loot the national resources, which is what our politics has been since 1999. I don't think we should forget that. Otherwise, we would not be talking about corruption the way Buhari is talking about it. It is because it has been the question of sharing and looting that there is so much emphasis on that particular area.
Prof, tell me, because of the division that we saw, there's been some form of distraction from the real issues of governance, and now it looks like it is resolved. Do you think from every body language and every action that we've seen afterwards, do you really think that this reconciliation is for real?
Reconciliation is for real. There is honor among those who want to share the loot. You must recognize that. Reconciliation is permanent from that particular angle, at least as long as they keep their promises in terms of what, those things which have been promised behind closed doors. As long as they keep to those, that type of situation will continue. I don't think we should, we should bother ourselves with all those things. We are interested not in politicking. We're interested in governance. And there's nothing that has been, in the past 2 months, we have not seen any of that from the National Assembly. Nothing relating to governance at all.
Prof, tell us, if you may, comparatively, what happens in other climes from what we have seen in terms of how the National Assembly or the legislature is being handled or the affairs is being steered?
Nigeria is different. in the sense that we have put in place structures and institutions which revolve around these juicy positions, sharing and taking what belongs to the people. So we are different from that angle. But if you go to some other legislatures, in some other developing countries and others, the corruption is there. There is corruption, massive corruption in the U.S. Congress. Many of them have been sent to jail. Massive corruption in various legislatures in other countries. So let's not just think that what's going on here is. If I give you the example of the United States, last year alone, $4.6 billion was stolen from added to the national budget through what they call pork barrel. And these are things which you give to those you know will pass on the money back to you. And that 4.6 is lower because in the past it used to be up to 40 billion that pork barreling system would add to national budget and the president will sign. So corruption in those places in the legislative houses is not something new. And so if there is now some quietude within the National Assembly so they can go on with the normal business as was done under the 7th National Assembly.
You've talked so much about the issue of corruption. Tell us just how can these administration led by President Muhammadu Buhari tackle the massive corruption you're talking about in the legislative arm of government?
Well, he can do his best in some areas. With reference to the executive, he can do his best within the 4 years given to him. I don't think they'll give him a second term if they find that he's doing too much to curb corruption, because the whole system is corrupt. When something is built on corruption, corruption cannot kill corruption. It is not possible. So he will succeed in some areas, but he should not be deceived to believe that at the end of the 4 years he would have killed corruption in Nigeria. It is not possible. Nobody can do so. It's not been done in any country.
Do you think that the president will get the needed support to fight corruption from the present National Assembly?
Yes, he will to a certain extent, as long as he does not step on their toes. Because they are not going there to come out with just their salaries. They will have to do something more than that. And that was why there was so much struggle. Politics of life and death, do or die, to get elected, to get into positions. That's why you have these problems in Nigeria, because of what is at stake. So much money. We're not talking about how to bake the cake. It is how to share, how to distribute. That's why you have the problems there. That's why you have this. So he will get some cooperation in terms of dealing with some aspects of corruption within the executive. But of course, he knows that at 36 states, 774 local government areas where corruption is going on, he can do nothing about that, except with the cooperation of the governors, who have not promised to fight corruption.
There's a lot to battle with the 52% that the federal government shares anyways. Just how difficult will it be for him to coast home with the fight against corruption if the National Assembly is not on his side?
The National Assembly will be on his side in the sense that they will pass some laws that will enable him to continue with the fight with corruption. But we know that Buhari alone, as president, cannot fight corruption. There are structures and institutions. The judiciary, you have members of the bar who will defend people. And it is what you are able to prove in the court that at the end of the day will determine the outcome of a particular case. There have been cases which have been on for 7, 8 years. In the judiciary, they are not out. Some will continue to be there until Buhari leaves office.
All right.
I think we should understand the complex nature of the Nigerian system and the complex nature of the corruption itself. It's massive. And no one single person can handle it.
All right. Just before I allow you to go, Prof, tell me quickly, a lot of people have clamored that the lawmakers, leaders, should cut down on what they take home. What's your view on that?
Should come down on what?
Cut down on their pay, on their salaries and wages.
salaries and wages are irrelevant because it is the allowances. If you can reduce your salary by, the salary is important only with reference to somebody who depends only on the salary. But if it is your allowances that will let you get millions each month, then cutting your salary by 50% is totally irrelevant because you know the other things will come in.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Agunsoye, for those thoughts there. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Well,